Hey guys, welcome back to Cuda Cave. On this segment, I'm going to prep and install the rear frame rails. Thank you for your likes, your subscriptions, your comments, all greatly appreciated. Please keep them coming. I love seeing the numbers increase. People are enjoying the build. I'm enjoying the build. That's the fun part. So what I'm going to do, we got to clean up the primer that's on this frame rail so we can prep it to weld into the car. We took some measurements, particularly back on the back end where the spring mounts go. We have to mark out where the shock cross member goes. We'll clean all that up and we'll make sure that we can get good welds on there. We'll also put in some zinc primer so that we can do a weld through on the primer. That way we know anywhere that we clean up to bare metal for welding, this will be sealed as well, because once it's done inside this channel, it won't be painted, it won't be seen, it won't be used. So we want to make sure this is protected and won't collect anything. So what I've done so far, I've taken a measurement for where this meets the seat pan under the back seat, and we need to measure up to the point that all the mounts get welded to it. So I've done that, and it's about 12 inches, but what we want to do is go a little bit further, that way we know we're covered. So I'm going to take that to about 13 inches, so somewhere in about here. And if you recall, when I did the cross member for the shock mounts, it came off the back mount for the bumper and it came up 30 inches. But we got to flip this over, it's on the wrong side. So we'll rock this over. We'll come off the back flange where the bumper mounts and we'll take our 30 inches. So somewhere around there, we'll take that up to our 3-foot mark, because I believe this little cutout right here is where that shock tower, the shock cross member mounts to. This will be all welded in. That way we know that the shocks, they're just going to be there, they're not going to rattle, everything's secure, very firm, and we don't blow out a frame rail. So what I've done right now, I've just clamped this down to the bench so it doesn't move too much. It wiggles a little bit, but it's not going to fly off the table. So we want to clean up this flange all up in here, this mount to the under seat, under the back seat. All of this is going to get welded in. I'm going to measure out and we'll drill our holes for the plug welds all the way down to where the bumper mounts. What I've done, I've gotten a flap wheel it's seen its life, but all we want to do is take the primer off of this. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll clean all the primer off of this, we'll mark it out and we'll drill our holes. So now that we got the flange all done here, it's cleaned up, this way we know that once we drill through, we'll clean down the burrs on it, and we can weld, we'll get a nice firm weld on there. So right now, we'll just take this off the clamp. I'm gonna rock this way. Don't think I need a clamp for this one, but if you remember, we measured out 13 inches from this flange. There's the spring mount that goes in here, and then there's another body mount that goes in here. So we got to clean this up so we can get a good weld into the material. This primer doesn't like the welds, so we'll clean that up. Also, if we flip this over, the shock cross member, we have to clean up that area as well, so that this can get a nice weld in there as well. So we'll set up here, we'll get a clamp down, maybe, we might not need it, and we'll clean those up, get it ready for install. So camera flip got me again. I tried a time lapse to show you guys me cleaning this up, but the camera flip was on the wrong way. So here we are. We've got this all cleaned up where the shock cross member goes. We've got it cleaned up on the other side where the spring mounts and everything go on this side. So we got this flange cleaned up. The only thing left that I got to do right now, I got to clean the underside of the trunk pan. That way it's clean to weld to. I believe I'm going to go up with my welds. So I do have to mark out and drill these. We'll do that again. So the shock cross member, I've got to clean it up so we got the good flange on there so we can weld it to the cross member. That will be a last thing to do after we put the frame rails in. So I'll just go ahead, we'll measure this out, we'll drill some holes, and we'll get ready to put in. So here we are, guys. Got the frame rails all prepped. So I ground down the primer on the flat edge that we're going to weld, and also where we're going to put the spring mounts. Pre-drilled all the holes. I went every 2 inches. I think that's going to be sufficient to fill in where the spot welds were from factory. Like I said again, I'm going to weld from the bottom up, and hopefully we get great penetration. If not, then we'll flip it around, we'll fill these holes, and we'll weld from the top down. So got a little bit more to do in here. I got to clean up in behind where the bumper mounts go. I won't get a good weld with the primer on here, so I got to do that on both sides. This side's going to be relatively easy. I can put the grinder on this, but once I get my sandblaster going again, I'll blast this out. That way it's clean material. Right here, our trunk pan will weld down to it on here. So I've cleaned this up. This spot will weld down onto. That way we know it's a good fit. But yeah, the frame rails are all cleaned up, prepped, ready to go. So the next step will be underneath the car. We'll clean up some of the bottom of the new trunk pan, get the primer off of it. Spots that we got to put the spring mounts on. So we got to clean those up. I'll show you what I got to do under there in a moment. So here we are back under the car, guys. So we got to clean up these spring mounts, get them all nice and clean so we can weld to it. I will drill holes in this prior to putting the frame rail in. That way we can weld from the back side. The tab needs to be bent back up so it meets the bottom of the frame rail. Likewise with this mount. As you can see, I don't know if you can see it in here, but yeah, I can stick my finger in a hole in here. We'll patch that afterwards. Big thing is get the frame rail in, get something structurally sound to weld to. Then up in the back side over here where the new trunk pan went in, I got to clean it up as well so that we have a clean surface to weld to. Alright guys, here we go. Let's try this for a test fit. I have a feeling this is going to be a one-shot deal. It's in, it gets welded. So we'll just place that down in the corner. Looks like we got to go into the bumper first. Push this into place. So here we are, guys. We've got the frame rail up in there. Got a couple clamps on there. There's some gaps that I got to fill. But what I realized when I put this in is that I didn't take a measurement from this side to the other side of the frame rail for the cross member for the shock mounts. So right now, this frame rail actually moves back and forth. I never took a measurement as to where this one needs to be placed in relation to the side to side. So I wish I had taken a measurement in here up against the inner wheel well and the frame rail so I could get this placed. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to do these at the same time. I was hoping to do one at a time, but because that moves, I don't want to risk welding it into place and then finding that I don't have it in the proper spot, have to grind it all out and fit the cross member in. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll remove the remaining piece of the passenger side, also in the back corner over there. So we'll do that, we'll clean it all up, and we'll get the other frame rail in here, and then we can place the cross member in as well. Okay guys, so here we are. We got the frame rail all cut out of here on the passenger side. Got a few spots I got to clean up where the spot weld's pulled out. But other than that, it's looking pretty good. There's some holes in the floor here, but that's just a floor pan. We can patch that in the inside. We'll do a little bit of bending so we can follow the contours from the factory. Until then, I've got the driver's side fitted. It's looking pretty well. So we got some manipulating to do, some jacking from the top, jacking from the bottom, squeeze things together because we can't get vice grips on it. So I'll show you that process in the next video. This video was primarily my mistake that I didn't take a measurement on the frame rails side to side. So as I go forward, measure, 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 cut, cut. So measure twice, cut once. Till then guys, like, subscribe, leave your comments. Love to hear your comments on this. Till then, next video, frame rail install and weld. Thanks guys, bye.